The Galactic Senate voted to erase Earth from the star maps. They didn't realize Earth had already found them first. Lieutenant Mara Vey crouched behind a ridge of jagged rock, the twin suns glinting off the dusty red plains of Phaedrain. She adjusted the targeting interface on the repurposed mining laser and muttered to herself, "Nothing says welcome like recycled scrap and a death wish." The air smelled of ozone and fear, mostly hers. Across the valley, the first Zyrix assault drones skimmed the atmosphere like shards of glass. Crystalline, humming, utterly alien, they moved with precision Mara had no hope of predicting, except she did. Because humans, unlike the Zyrix, thrived on chaos. "Lieutenant, they're locking onto the colony hub," her comms officer, Jean, shouted. Sweat streaked his face beneath his visor. "If we don't do something—" Mara slammed the mug she'd grabbed from the mess hall against the metal console. The recycled glass cracked but didn't shatter. She didn't even flinch, but her team jumped. "Do something? Jean, we are something. They won't see us coming." In the colony, women and men scurried to rig mining drones into decoys, welding improvised shields onto scrap ships. Mara's voice rang over the comms like a blade. "Remember, people, they're crystals. They think logically. And logic is boring. So we'll be boringly chaotic." The Zyrix ships descended, their crystalline hulls humming in harmonic resonance. They didn't understand fear, humor, or stubbornness, three human traits that Mara wielded like weapons. "Brace yourselves," she yelled. The first drones plunged toward the colony hub. Mara had rerouted all power to one mining laser positioned on a ridge, a long shot, a desperate gamble. The laser fired. It wasn't precise, it was brilliant. The beam tore through one drone, ricocheted off the metal scaffolding of the hub, and struck a second drone. Both erupted in a flash that turned the sky white for a heartbeat. The colonists cheered. Mara smiled, grimy and exhausted. Not bad for a couple of people who know how to weld. Then, the unexpected. A silhouette emerged from the asteroid field above, a human ship Mara didn't recognize. It drifted low, unseen by the Zyrix sensors, engines humming with controlled power. She froze. "Earth?" she whispered. The comm crackled. A calm, measured voice cut through static. "Lieutenant Vey, we've been watching. Help is on the way. Don't die before it gets here." The first wave of Zyrix assault drones faltered, scanning, confused. Humans were everywhere and nowhere at once. Mara's grin widened. "Jean, tell the others to get ready. The galaxy just learned a lesson." But even as hope flickered, a deeper dread settled. Mara knew the Zyrix wouldn't stop. And neither could humans. Cliffhanger, the distant, shimmering silhouette of the Earth ship hints at reinforcements, but Mara senses something bigger is coming, an intelligence that will test human chaos against alien precision in ways no one yet imagines. The Zyrix council chamber shimmered with the light of 1,000 crystalline walls, refracting each other until the space seemed infinite. Lyric, the senior counselor, rotated his facets in what humans might call anger. "They are chaos incarnate," he said, each syllable vibrating like a tuning fork. "They do not follow order. They cannot be reasoned with. They must be eradicated." Sorvain's translucent limbs twisted elegantly, a gesture of deliberation. "Eradication is inefficient. We could study them. Observe their methods, their unpredictability." A crystal drone hovered, displaying holographic maps of human colonies, their improvised defenses and erratic maneuvers. Lyric's facets shimmered red. They should have already been contained. Yet they fight as though each death fuels them. This is illogical. Back on Phaedrain, Mara Vey crouched in the cockpit of a scavenged scout ship, her hands flying across the controls. "All right, team, here's the plan. We pretend to retreat, split into 3 formations, and hit them where they don't expect. Preferably somewhere shiny and important to them." Jean groaned. "You mean we're going to trick them again?" Mara smirked. "Exactly. Humans, 1, crystals, 0. They intercepted a Zyrix scout ship, its hull refracting light like liquid diamond. Mara's voice echoed through the ship's hijacked comm channels. "Friendly fire? Or is it just shiny?" The drone hesitated, then flared its energy sensors. Inside the council, Zyrix's facet quivered. They are communicating through our own channels. Impossible. Sorvain tapped a facet against another. Not impossible. Clever. Adaptable. Perhaps they merit further study. On the battlefield, Mara deployed a series of holographic decoys, confusing the Zyrix drones into splitting formation. A human ship zipped through the gaps in the ambush, planting an EMP charge on a Zyrix supply hub. Explosions rippled through the sky. Mara laughed, the sound raw and alive. They said chaos wouldn't work. And here we are. Poetry in motion, people. Emotions ran high in the colony. Civilians huddled as drones swirled overhead. A boy clutched a small mechanical dog, whispering, "Stay safe, Max." Mara saw them and her chest tightened. Every life mattered. Every dog mattered. They weren't just fighting, they were proving humans refused to bend for fear. Inside the captured Zyrix scout, a crystalline officer blinked, facets pulsing with confusion. Mara leaned over, smirking. Guess who's being observed now? The officer tilted, a movement humans might interpret as horror. You understand us? It asked in fractured communication. We get you, Mara said. You don't get us. That's the difference. The officer's facets flickered violently, translating distress. Your species interferes with probabilities. You anticipate outcomes impossible to calculate. You don't follow rules, Mara interrupted, leaning back with a grin. Exactly. Now, why don't you tell your bosses we're not just surviving? We're mapping their entire star routes. The officer froze, a shimmer of panic. Mara's team transmitted the data back to Earth. Every Zyrix star lane, every supply chain, every vulnerability. Humanity had turned observation into strategy, chaos into weaponry. But as the sun dipped below the jagged horizon, a new fear crept in. The Zyrix had one weapon they hadn't disclosed, the Oblivion Wave, a planet-erasing device hidden deep within the orbital city. One activation, and the colony would cease to exist. Mara's smile faltered. They've got a big gun. And we're basically a sparkler in the wind. Jin's visor fogged. We can't outrun it, can't outfight it. What now? Mara's eyes scanned the horizon, the rising silhouettes of Zyrix ships blinking in the light. She clenched her jaw. Now, we outsmart it. Humans don't just survive, they improvise. And we've got one thing they can't predict. We don't give up. The Oblivion Wave shimmered above Phaedra 9 like a spectral storm, a rolling curtain of raw energy that pulsed with alien intent. Mara Vey gritted her teeth, staring up at it from the battered landing pad. That, she muttered, is not polite. Jean coughed through his respirator, voice shaky. It's going to wipe us out. Not if we make it think we're gone, Mara snapped. Chaos, Jean. Chaos is a weapon they never expected. Around them, colonists scrambled, welding, rigging, repurposing anything with a power source. A dozen small ships, patched together from mining vessels and civilian freighters, hissed and roared into the dusty red sky. Mara's mind raced. Humans didn't just improvise, they thrived on it. The Zyrix had precision. Humans had surprise. Listen up. Mara's voice cut across the comm. We're going to split into 3 waves. Wave 1 will draw the energy field's focus. Wave 2 hits their conduits. Wave 3, she paused, smiling grimly. Wave 3 is for laughter. And survival. The first wave of human ships darted into the open, buzzing like angry hornets. The Oblivion Wave rippled toward them, a silent predator. Mara piloted the lead ship herself, weaving through energy rifts that crackled with destructive potential. Every twist of the hull, every dive through debris, was a dance of calculated chaos. Inside the colony, Carol, a rogue Zyrix scientist, slid through shadows, his translucent limbs twisting nervously. If they overload the conduits here, it will destabilize the field for a moment. But only a moment. It's risky. Mara had already figured that out. That's all we need, Carol. Just one moment. Humans live for that one chance. Wave 2 surged, deploying magnetic pulses and grappling devices to destabilize Zyrix energy nodes. Sparks flew, hulls groaned, and Mara's laugh rang through the comms. Welcome to the human way. Keep up or get fried. But humans weren't invincible. One ship went down, a flash of light, a scream of metal. The colonists gasped. A mother cried for her lost child. Mara's stomach nodded, but she didn't pause. Loss was part of survival, but survival was part of something bigger. Wave 3 moved in, and Mara's plan unfolded like poetry. They created a chain reaction of explosions across Zyrix conduits, sending shockwaves through the approaching Oblivion Wave. Energy shimmered, fractured, collapsed, and then stalled. The planet was no longer under immediate threat. The humans cheered even as debris rained from the sky. Mara felt sweat and blood streaking her face, hands raw from controls. "We did it," she whispered, though she knew better. It wasn't victory yet, it was pause. Amid the chaos, Mara spotted the boy and his mechanical dog, trapped under rubble. She dove out of her cockpit, shoving aside shattered metal, lifting the boy and dog into her arms. The dog barked, a sound alien to the Zyrix ears but profoundly human, defiant and alive. Carol approached her cautiously. "Humans, you act without logic. Yet you survive." Mara wiped blood and sweat from her forehead, staring at the trembling Zyrix scientist. "We don't act without reason, Carol. We act with heart. And a little bit of crazy. That's the difference." The colonists regrouped, tending to their wounded, repairing what they could. Mara's ship hovered above the horizon, engines glowing against the twin suns. She knew the Zyrix wouldn't simply give up. Reinforcements would arrive, and this dance of chaos had only just begun. She looked at the sky, the shimmer of the stalled Oblivion Wave above. "They think they understand the rules," she muttered. "But humans? We make our own rules." The Zyrix Council chamber hung like a crystal cathedral in orbit, its walls refracting light into dizzying rainbows that no human could ever truly understand. Mara Vey's ship slid into a docking bay, battered but intact. She stepped onto the platform, visor up, letting the alien brilliance strike her face. She inhaled sharply. Yep, definitely not home. The council waited, facets glimmering, drones hovering, every movement calculated, every angle precise. Lyric's facets pulsed with controlled rage. "Humans," he said, "you survive. You resist. You talk too much." Mara smirked. "Yeah, that's kind of the point." She gestured at her crew behind her, civilians included, patched up and scarred, but alive. "We're not here to fight anymore. Mostly." Sorvain tilted, a gesture humans might call curiosity. "You are bold." "We call it stubborn," Mara replied. "But sure, bold works too." She let her gaze sweep the room, noting every drone, every facet, every reflective surface. "Now, let's chat about something important. Treaties, sovereignty, and why the galaxy underestimates humans at its own peril." Enter a new alien, Kryn, a telepathic mediator. His translucent head pulsed as if each thought was a visible wave. He assessed her, searching for deception. Mara tilted her head, shrugged, and quoted an old Earth meme, "Brace yourselves. You're about to meet the chaos you can't compute." Kryn froze, sending ripples of confusion across the telepathic network. The council murmured among themselves. Humans didn't just fight. Humans disrupted, unsettled, confused beings built entirely on logic. Lyric's facet glimmered sharper, clearly irritated. "You are entertaining. But we are still in control. Your colonies remain fragile. Your survival is anomalous." "Anomalous, yeah," Mara said. "But also persistent, emotional, loyal, unpredictable. And here's the kicker. We save lives other species would consider expendable." She gestured toward the Zyrix prisoners taken during the chaos of the wave. "Mercy isn't weakness. It's a weapon you didn't see coming." Sorvain tilted elegantly, intrigued. "You would risk yourselves for creatures you cannot even communicate with?" "Exactly," Mara said. She walked closer to the center of the chamber, her voice rising. "Humans don't just fight for survival. We fight for each other. For laughter, for pets, for poetry, for the messy, inconvenient things that make life worth living. A tremor ran through the chamber. Not physical, but emotional, a ripple the Zyrix couldn't control. Laughter, grief, courage, it wasn't data. It was humanity. But the stakes remained deadly. More Zyrix reinforcements lurked in orbit, bristling with energy weapons and warp drives. The humans had to prove both strength and diplomacy, or risk annihilation. Mara's voice softened, almost whispering. We're willing to negotiate. We're willing to die. But don't mistake mercy for weakness, because humans, we fight smarter, harder, and we forgive less than you expect. The council murmured again. Some facets shimmered with newfound respect. Lyric, rigid as ever, said, perhaps humanity is a species beyond containment. A sudden explosion rocked the chamber's periphery. A human ship had triggered an overload in Zyrix warp engines outside. Alarms flared. Smoke spiraled. Drones spun wildly. In that moment, Mara saw the council hesitate. Chaos, unpredictability, moral audacity, it worked. Jean leaned close, whispering through the calm, that was genius. Or insane. Or both. Mara's grin was sharp and tired. Humans are all three. Boys. And never predictable. As the smoke cleared, Sorvain tilted toward Mara. Your species, you may be the most dangerous we have ever encountered. Not for your weapons, but for your nature. Mara's gaze softened slightly. We don't want to be dangerous. We want to live. But sometimes, surviving requires showing what it is we are, whether you like it or not. The Galactic Senate chamber stretched wider than imagination, a cathedral of alien authority orbiting a dying star. Millions of eyes, facets, tendrils, and sensors trained on Mara Vey as she stepped forward, her boots clanging against the polished platform. She carried no weapon beyond her presence, no armor beyond her humanity. Lyric's facets shimmered with restrained fury. Humans, you survive. You disrupt. You challenge. Why do you persist? Mara inhaled, letting the weight of the past battles, Phaedroning, the Oblivion Wave, the stolen star routes, settle around her like a cloak. Because we have to, she said. Her voice rose, firm, melodic, defiant. Because humans don't stop when logic says we should. We fight for what matters. We improvise. We laugh when the world burns, and we cry when it doesn't. And yes, we do crazy things like save a mechanical dog in the middle of a planet-erasing weapon test. A ripple of confusion ran through the senators. Some were telepaths, some relied on pure calculation. None could comprehend why she laughed in the middle of chaos. Kryn, the telepathic mediator, floated closer, ripples pulsing from his mind. She speaks in a paradox. Humor and threat intertwined. Fascinating. Mara tilted her head, smirking. You think you can calculate me? You can't. Humans aren't formulas. We're improvisation with moral depth, chaos with heart. Then she gestured behind her. The holographic display flared to life, showing Zyrix fleets, human colonies, and simulations of what would happen if the Senate underestimated them again. Ships burned, worlds shattered, civilizations lost. Each frame pulsed with cinematic intensity, every explosion a testament to human unpredictability. You see this? Marist, this isn't just a threat. It's a lesson. You tried to erase us. You thought logic and precision would win. But humans do more than survive. We adapt. We outthink. We outlove. And yes, we break your rules because we can. The chamber went silent. Lyric's facets flickered violet, a color humans had no name for, somewhere between awe and fear. Sorvain's limbs twitched in fascination. Even the Zyrix factions who had secretly aided humanity earlier could not hide their stunned admiration. A sudden alarm flared from the chamber's perimeter. Mara didn't flinch. She had anticipated contingencies, redundancies, and the Senate's stubbornness. Humans always anticipate the unpredictable. Do what you must, she said softly, but know this, humans are alive. And alive means unstoppable. Then, in a sudden, cinematic flourish, a fleet of hybrid human Zyrix ships materialized outside the chamber. They had not come to conquer. They had come to prove a point. Humans, combined with allies who understood the value of unpredictability and courage, could rewrite galactic norms. Mara felt the weight of every colonist lost, every life risked, every dog saved, every improvisation, every gamble. It was exhausting, and yet exhilarating. We didn't ask for power, she whispered to herself. We asked for survival. And this is the terrible privilege of being human. The Senate erupted into debate. Some factions demanded eradication. Others, study. Most, reluctant recognition. Mara stayed still watching. She had done what no other species could. She had made the galaxy reckon with the singular force that is humanity, unpredictable, flawed, emotional, brilliant, unstoppable. Finally, Zyrix's facets shimmered, a reluctant concession. Humans, perhaps you are beyond containment. Mara's smile was weary, sharp, and human in a way no alien could ever fully comprehend. Beyond containment? Yeah. That's us. Humans. Messy, loud, stubborn, and unstoppable. We're here. And we're not going anywhere. As she turned to leave the chamber, the hum of life and chaos thrummed in her veins. Earth had survived. Phaedra 9 had survived. Humanity had survived. Not because of superior technology, not because of perfect logic, not because the odds favored them, but because humans were themselves, audacious, empathetic, unpredictable, clever, and relentless. And the galaxy, for the first time, realized it had never faced anything like them before. Mara paused at the exit, looking back at the alien leaders. Her voice, soft but clear, carried a message far beyond diplomacy. We didn't win because we were stronger. We won because we were human. She stepped into the docking bay, crew at her side, scars visible, hearts still beating fiercely. Outside, the stars shimmered. The galaxy awaited, uncertain, uneasy, but alive with the knowledge that humans were a force it could never fully anticipate, a chaos that contained courage, empathy, and indomitable spirit. And for Mara Vey, for humanity, that was enough.